Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to welcome you all to the first DFA group call of 2020. Today we're going to be talking about finding projects, sponsored project opportunities, and successfully managing teams. We have amazing guest David O'Donnell on the call today, who will introduce himself shortly, but we're very excited to be partnering with David for a National Challenge Library project. You'll also be hearing from Kim Dabbs, who is the Chief Innovation of Strategic Innovation. She's very high up in Steelcase doing strategic innovation. I apologize on the misnaming of the title, but she will introduce herself via recorded video for us later today. So I'm going to start this off with some announcements. First things first is that we are entering a new school year, and we ask that all studio leads complete their studio rosters. So we have sent out in the update form, many of you have already completed your studio roster or given us the date by which you will have completed your studio roster, either updating it with the new members that you have this term, or if there's been no change, you told us about that. The reason why we want you to do these studio rosters is because we take that information, we add it to our master list so that we can send them emails about member registration. And member registration opened today. Member registration is how we get a tally of all the DFA members from all the different studios in the network each term. It is required every term for each individual student to fill out. It takes like less than 3 minutes if they filled it out before. New members, it takes like a little over 3 minutes. So be sure to have everybody complete member registration. It's open the entire month of February, so there's multiple weeks to do that. Just be sure to complete the studio rosters and have them complete the member registration form, which is in the description here. In addition, we have two amazing national project opportunities for you guys this term with the YMCA. We are continuing the relationship with the YMCA this is going on our second year with the YMCA, and they have proposed two how can we's for us. One is about how can we modernize the after-school program model to maximize student success, and the other how can we engage and empower youth to be change makers in their communities. So we will have two teams working on these projects, two groups of teams working on these projects throughout the term, checking in with DFA National regularly as well as YMCA partners, and then coming to an expo in Chicago where the YMCA is located for a final expo at the end of the term. So that deadline has been extended to this Wednesday. So if teams are still interested, or if you are looking for a project, I highly encourage you to apply. This is a wonderful opportunity, and we are able to take more teams. There was over 18 applicants for last term's national project, and this year this term we're able to take 10 teams. So please consider applying. It's a wonderful way to get facilitated help from DFA National and coaches, and participate in a national cohort of teams working on real-life projects in their community that the YMCA is really interested in scaling out and implementing. In addition, if any of you have any connections to San Francisco or know somebody in the Bay Area, there's an upcoming Alumni and Friends event called Building the Commons, which explores design and the public space. So please send them that link to purchase a ticket to that event so that they can connect with the DFA family in the area. We're going to go over the new additions to the National Challenge Library today, but we feel free to check it out after this call. After you know how to navigate it a little bit better. And then I encourage you all to participate in the development of a new studio support system. Project registration, as many of you are familiar with, is how we take a census of all the projects that occur each term. And this year we are piloting a new way to collect that information through a system called project documentation. So if you have any teams that are looking for better ways to document the process or would like to receive more resources directly from DFA National, this is a great way for them to learn about how to regularly document and get in the habit of doing so, because in fall 2020, project documentation will completely replace project registration as being the main way that we are collecting data about projects in the network. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns about those announcements before we introduce ourselves? Perfect. Cool. So, since this being the first group call of the new year, I thought it would be appropriate for all of us to take the time to share out our name, studio, and our New Year's resolutions. Like, what are your goals for 2020? What are your goals for the new decade? Just something you're excited for in this brand new season of 2020. We're seeing clearly now, and yes, I will make all of the vision puns I can this year. So, my name is Ross Brunetti. I'm one of the 2019-2020 DFA National Fellows. I was part of the Crew CIA studio, and I graduated from the Cleveland Institute of Art last year studying interior architecture. One of my big New Year's resolutions is I'm trying to attend more professional networking events here in Chicago. So that's something I'm really trying to build a professional community around. Bethany and Austin, would you guys like to introduce yourselves and tell us what your goals are for the new year?
Well, I'm Bethany, and we're from the Vanderbilt studio, and it was just studio name and where you're from, right? Or
New Year's resolution.
New Year's resolutions, rather.
Yeah.
My resolution this year is to put together a solidified plan for what I'm going to do after college. That would be good.
Amazing.
And then from
Sorry?
Austin?
yeah. I'm Austin. I'm also from the Vanderbilt studio. And my New Year's resolution is to be more Austin centered. Focus more so
Nice.
on just keeping myself in the forefront of whatever I do. So.
No, that's a wonderful thing. I'll definitely be emulating that philosophy. Chance, what about you?
Hey guys, I'm Chance. I'm from the U Alabama studio. Um, I used to play squash a lot, and that kind of fell off since I came to college, but we have a squash court on campus, so I'm just gonna try to play squash more often.
Sweet. What is the difference between like squash and like handball or like racquetball? Is it
Um,
used?
yeah, so squash and I've never played handball, but squash and racquetball, there's like a slightly different stick. Squash is more narrow and longer, and the ball is much smaller and far denser, so it doesn't bounce as much.
Okay, cool. David, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm David O'Donnell. I'm in Chicago. I am social innovation consultant, running my own shop called Post Normal. And I suppose my New Year's resolution is to do what small thing I can do to stop runaway climate change. Very involved outside of my day-to-day work in climate change activism.
Cool. Yes, go green. Jasmine.
Hi everyone, I'm Jasmine. I'm at the studio at Yale, and I just recently joined the leadership team, which is super exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, my New Year's resolution, there's many. I definitely second the more taking care of yourself and also finding a new project, but I think DFA seems to be a good candidate for that.
Amazing. I hope so too. Let's see. Kavya.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kavya. I am the president of the Barnard Columbia Studio. New Year's resolution, I have quite a few. This is my last semester, so I want to,
Yeah, you got to do it.
I'm excited for our last recruiting cycle, which is going on right now. So I'm really looking forward to welcoming in a bunch of new freshmen and hopefully giving them the same excitement for DFA that I've had for the past few years. And then just on a personal level, I want to be more smiling towards strangers and just more welcoming overall, be more positive. Yeah.
Cool. I definitely believe in the power of smiles. Amazing. Marissa.
Hi, so I'm Marissa. I am the studio lead at the USC DFA, which is in Southern California. And my New Year's resolution is more towards just going out and being in nature more because I'm in school in downtown LA, there's not a lot of nature here. And so I really want to get outside, go to the beach more, that kind of thing.
Amazing. I would also love to go to the beach, except it's frozen right now, and it's
Yeah.
on a.
Uh,
Megan?
Hi, so I'm Megan. I'm at the Claremont Colleges chapter, also Southern California. In terms of New Year goals, probably finish my senior thesis, which means also like start my senior thesis, because I got to do that this semester, graduate. Mostly just spend more time with my cats too, because I love them.
Oh my gosh. How many cats do you have?
Two in my house here at school. Yeah,
Cool, cool, cool.
they're great.
And finally, Steph? Steph, are you on the call still?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute.
Oh, you're fine.
Hi everyone, I'm Steph. I'm a studio lead at Fordham DFA in Manhattan. And my New Year resolution is to probably get more sleep before graduation. I have a feeling it's going to taper off after that, so get in while I can.
Oh, sorry, 1 second. The lights just went out. Okay. Yes, I agree on the sleep. I actually feel like I got more sleep post-graduation, like now that
Oh,
I get
really?
in a little bit more routine. So I think it depends on it. And I feel, I don't know. I also went to art school where I was like in the studio all the time, so could be a little bit different. Amazing. So now we all have a little bit more grounding and are excited for this new year. And part of the new year, too, that we're really looking forward to and what we're all here about is to start new projects. So I know a lot of your teams, you're scoping, you're looking for new members, you're creating all these teams. And we at DFA National are trying to do our best to support you and provide you with the best opportunities to succeed. And so what we have to offer for you guys is the National Challenge Library. So what we're going to do in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to give an overview of what the National Challenge Library is, how to use it, and we're also going to kick off and introduce two new national projects. One with Steelcase about entrepreneurship in the workforce, and the other with David about increasing voter engagement. And so these are pre-scope challenges, DFA National approved, ready for teams to take and run with. And teams that do participate in these national project or national challenge library projects will also be able to receive support from DFA National. So I'm going to share my screen for a little bit. I'm going to walk you guys through an overview of what the format of the National Challenge Library is, how to download the documents and the challenges, and then we're going to talk about the support system surrounding it and kick off the other two projects. So let me do this. If you have any questions throughout, feel free to shout, and I'll be able to answer your questions as we go. Okay, do you all see my screen? Yes, I see nodding. Perfect. Cool. So welcome to the DFA National Challenge Library. This is DFA's Nationals catalog of pre-scope challenges that are approved and ready to go that have already undergone the scoping process from the DFA National point of view. The way that we put together and compile these challenges is primarily through the scoping that we do for the annual summit in August. So this term we were able to add the 3 challenges. If you attended Summit, we had a sprint about climate change. And so we have 3 pre-scope challenges that were added at the beginning of the fall term about climate change. And occasionally we will partner with a studio or an outside source to add other challenges to the National Challenge Library. So this is the landing page when you click on the National Challenge Library link. It's a Google Doc. And this Google Doc is a library. So think of it as a source for you to come and check out projects that you're then going to work on throughout the term. We organize each of the projects into categories, which are accessible in the Outline tab on the side over here. So starting from the top, be sure to read the instructions, always a good place to start. So each of these terms are really great, each of these challenges are really great for launching studios and first-time team leads. Even if you, and especially like experienced DFA team leads who are experienced but are just looking for a new term or looking for something new to do. We actually require all launching studios to do a DFA National Challenge project as part of the launching process, because we feel that through these projects, the teams who are the members who are founding the DFA studio at their respective school are able to go through the design process, and we're able to provide support to them throughout the entire process. So the first things first, what you're going to do when you fill out this form is you're going to click out the welcome form. You fill out this welcome form so that we know who you are, which project you're doing, and so that we can be notified that you're working on this project from the DFA National point of view, so we can provide you support. This form is similar to the forms that it's the same format that you receive for the update forms and everything. So just go through here. We're so excited for you to start. And then Neil Patrick Harris is ready for you to accept the challenge. So if any of you are filling out, or if any teams are currently working on a project that qualifies as a DFA National Challenge Library project, be sure to fill out the welcome form so that we can provide you with the resources. So you'll go down and you click on a National Challenge Library below, or a project below, and then you'll copy it into your Google Drive, and then you work through it for your first team meeting. So if I'm looking for a new project, I came to the National Challenge Library and I selected climate change. This one sounds really interesting. People Power Policy. We list all the how can we, so you can kind of get a feel of what the challenge are. But if I'm interested in this, I would click it. And each of the challenges themselves are separate Google Docs that are linked in the master library. The challenge library, the way that it's formed, these challenges, we've already completed the identify and partial immerse phases so that teams are able to hit the ground running just by reading these pages and starting their projects. So these projects provide you with a quick overview, summary of why this project is important, leaving some groundwork and some level setting so you understand what's at stake. And then we break it up by process. So identify, we provide you with the how can we statement. We have already scoped it down using our daring, feasible, and applicable metrics that we use for the DFA scoping wheel. And we also provide the current knowledge that we have found around this topic in a digestible manner. So the current knowledge, for example, let's see here, like SLAP stats, such as 250,000 people are estimated to die because of climate change-induced malaria, diarrhea, heat stress, and malnutrition. Well, that's a serious thing, so we want to make sure that you guys are working on these projects. We then give you space to list out assumptions, share out your personal experiences, and any connections that we have found that you can then extrapolate upon to figure out how to bring these challenges to your local communities and really start to make an impact in your community. We then list current solutions, just so that you get an idea of what other solutions and other concepts are out there, what's currently in place. And then we provide you with the structure for you to immerse yourselves in the challenge. So this is where you can start to compile reports and NGOs, books and articles, news stories, and then we want this to be kind of like a worksheet that you fill out. So we have a list for you to then find organizations in your local area and start to compile a list for you to reach out to them so that you can start kicking off the project, building those relationships with these community partners, and then starting to ideate ways, once you know a little bit more about them, that you can address the challenges that they're facing. And that's it. So that's the common format for what a National Challenge Library project will look like. You take this form and you just copy it into your Google Drive that you do it, you print it out. Please don't write necessarily in this one, because this is where everybody else is going to be downloading from. It also has a link to the DFA process guide, which walks you through the entire DFA design process, and the emails for myself and my co-fellow Glory, who you can reach out to anytime during a project so that we can provide you with the best support possible. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns about the National Challenge Library and the format before we kick off the new projects that we just added? Okay, great. Let's see here. So if we go back to this, we have two new exciting projects at the base here. One of which we're going to start with the future of work, and then we'll go into the voting project where David will be able to explain to us why this matters to him and why he's excited to work with y'all. So the future of work is the topic that Steelcase has decided to partner. We are partnering with Steelcase to explore. And their challenge to us is encouraging social entrepreneurs. Let's see here. So a quick overview of this. Millennials and Gen Z are rethinking what it means to work and what they want their current or future workplaces to look, feel, and operate like. They're creating a purpose revolution, the idea that employees are making personal and professional decisions with a larger purpose in mind. This shift is one factor driving companies to reconsider the role that social impact plays in their value propositions. We're really excited about this challenge and the way that it's laid out because as DFAers, we are constantly doing work, and I'm sure you all can agree, are trying to make an impact in your community. And after you graduate from your respective colleges and universities, and you take this DFA experience with you of being able to work with people and build community partner relationships and really use the design process for something greater than yourself, you want to try to find, hopefully, a job that aligns with those values and gives you the opportunity and the space to explore how you'd be able to continue doing that after you graduate. There are many jobs out there. There are many wonderful organizations, and there's many spaces in organizations you might not think about that offer mission aligned that at first don't perceive to be mission aligned, but actually are. So this How Can We is all about how can we activate and amplify change makers in companies for social impact. So I'm actually going to hand this off to Kim Dabbs. So I have to stop sharing this screen real fast and share a different screen. But does anyone have any initial questions, comments, concerns about this? Any thoughts? No? Cool. Okay. So Kim has put together a presentation for y'all so that she can explain this a little bit better than I can. Can everyone see the screen? Perfect. Here we go.
All right. Thanks so much for being here, Kim. Would you mind introducing yourselves for the students?
Yeah, I'm Kim Dabbs. I'm the Global Director of Social Innovation at a company called Steelcase. We're the global leader in office environments and work environments throughout the world. We're really excited to partner with DFA.
Amazing. Thank you. And can you tell us a little bit more about what this topic is that we're getting the students working on and why it fits so nicely with things that Steelcase is already thinking about?
Yeah, we continuously think about what the future of work, the future of education, and the future of healthcare is going to look like for our world, and what are those experiences that we're designing for all stakeholders to be able to participate and unlock human promise. So when I think about these challenges, I really think about an integrated approach, both from a Steelcase perspective and really exploring the future of work, but also from students and from educators in that sector to really start to design that future with us. Hearing the voices and hearing the designs that are coming from the field are going to be incredibly important as we co-design solutions.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit more, why is this topic so top of mind and so important today?
Yeah. In every gathering and every convening, every employee that we hire always hear about the role of business in society, one, and two, what individual purpose is. and we have choices to make as the next generation, and we want to make sure those choices and the purpose that people are looking for are met through each and every work engagement that they have. So exploring what that future of work looks like, as well as connecting people to purpose and creating a culture of innovation, are going to be critical to transforming systems for the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any, if you had to picture what some of the outcomes or goals or dreams for this project and what the students are going to work on and come up with, any ideas for goals for the students by the end of this project?
So I think by the end of this project, it's just being incredibly curious and okay. We're not looking for specific place-based solutions. We're not looking for just global solutions or just local solutions, but really understanding what is the question that we're solving for. And that connection of people and purpose is core and critical to unlocking human promise. And that's what we're really looking to get at.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm super excited for it. Rebecca, any other questions?
That's perfect.
Great.
Oh, one last question. Where are you?
So I lead global social innovation, as we talked about. So today I'm where I live, and that is in Munich, Germany. But you will see me in multiple different countries and continents throughout the world every single day. So hope to be in a university town near you soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
That's awesome.
Great. Okay, can we all say thanks, Kim? Thanks, Kim. Cool. What did you guys think? Do you have any questions, comments, concerns, or what is your first reaction? Is there any insights to what Kim said that are resonating with you guys? Chance, what do you think?
I think it's actually really interesting. I am going to be working at Deloitte right afterwards, in graduation, and this is something that they actually care a lot about at Deloitte. You mentioned before you played the video that there are companies that have mission statements that would definitely align with DFAers' goals and wishes. And before I entered at Deloitte, I didn't realize that was one such company. So I think it's a really pressing issue and something that I think is interesting for DFA to actually partner with and have students work on. I'm personally not going to be pursuing this. I'll be doing voter engagement, but I really appreciated hearing from her.
Great. Cool. So, in addition to working with Kim and Steelcase, which is based in Michigan, there are other possible Steelcase employees who will be working with DFA students on this project throughout the term. This particular project and the voting engagement project as well, these are the two we're really focusing in on. And so these projects, if you do participate in either one of them, are going to offer you the opportunity to collaborate with other teams who are working on these projects. We have created a National Challenge Library Slack workspace where you'll be able to work with other teams and collaborate with them as they do either future of work or the voting. This particular project too, because we're working on looking at the future of work, we need to talk to people who are working. And who's better than the DFA alumni that we have in our network? So if you, in this particular document too, for this project, we have reached out to alumni in the network and have compiled a list of alumni and received a lot of feedback from DFA alumni who are really interested in being interviewed by the student teams who are participating on this project. So we have already built in stakeholders for you to start to talk with that are doing either work in a company or have founded their own companies or are like just exploring what it means to be a social innovator within their company and are more than happy to talk to you about that experience. So I'm going to share my screen now and show you the way that you can interact with the alumni who are excited to work with you. Can you all see my screen? Okay, perfect. So at the bottom of the first page, after the explanation, there are next steps. One of them is to listen to Kim Dabb's explanation that we just read or heard her explain to us. We be sure to read the rest of the document and then reach out to alumni in this list here. So here is a list of alumni who are able to be scheduled for interviews. Because alumni are busy, each DFA team or each DFA alumni who's participating has offered 2 interview time slots. So in order to sign up for a time slot, you just go down to a yellow box over here, either under interview sign up 1 or interview sign up 2. For example, if I'm trying to reach out to Jarek, who works in Houston, he has a really cool 3D printing company called Re3D. It's a small nonprofit or small for profit. I would start to put my name down here and turn everything green. Once it's green, it means I have claimed it, and I will be then, the student will be responsible for reaching out to the alumni to coordinate the email and the interview with that person for that team. So this is a really cool opportunity for you all to reach out to active DFA alumni, and also for you as DFA alumni to engage with students after you graduate. Once you have gone on to do all the amazing things you're going to do after your college experience. Great. Any questions, comments, concerns about that? Okay. Well, then we're going to move on to our next national project, which we are very excited to talk about. David, would you like to walk through the challenge and introduce it for us?
Sure. You guys hear me? Good. Really exciting about that Steelcase one for 2 reasons. One, when I first graduated from college, I sort of cut my design teeth working for Steelcase with IDEO and eLab. So those were some interesting projects back in the day. Good to see that they're still working on that stuff. And as somebody who's worked in a number of design consultancies over the years, trying to bring social innovation to those companies, or social impact or sustainability, all the different terms we've used over the years. It's an interesting project to think about how to do that. So anyway, exciting. So I'm David O'Donnell. I have been in the design consulting business for a long time. And I'm excited to talk to you about this project. Alongside my design work, I have been involved in electoral politics, working on a wide range of different campaigns. I worked on Barack Obama, all of Barack Obama's original campaigns, like his first Illinois State Senate campaign, actually, before he was Illinois senator, when he was a state senator. So I've done a lot of canvassing and a lot of trying to get getting out the vote kind of projects. And as a designer, I've always felt that project is that process is super inefficient and not particularly well designed. But haven't, I'm just a volunteer on the campaigns and haven't had the opportunity to bring my design skills to the work typically. So it's always been something that I've been passionate about and excited about, thinking about how we could better design the voter engagement experience. And I think that's important because voting to me, it really impacts literally everything that happens to everybody in the country. I like to think of it as like the rudder on a sailboat, right? So it's a very small action that you move, but if you're like crossing the Pacific Ocean, that small adjustment to the rudder when you move it to the left or whatever would result in you being way off course, right? Over the course of a long journey. And voting has a huge impact on who gets access to what resources, whether or not over the course of several decades income inequality gets worse or better, whether or not we have an impact on climate change, whether or not our water is clean or not, etc. Whether or not we move past, whether or not we encode racism in our laws, or we try to undo the racism that's already encoded in our laws. So I think it just has a huge impact, and it's this very small activity that many people don't understand. So the challenge that I've described here for you guys is this. 2020 is likely going to be a record-breaking voter participation. A lot of indication that that's going to be true, and yet, even so, that relative to the total number of people who could be voting, a significant number of people won't vote. Also, the voting population is increasingly digitally savvy, increasingly their expectations are that they're going to be engaged in some different way than typical get out the vote broadcast TV advertising. And my sense is that most of the get out the vote organizations that are doing their work just continue the campaigns, et cetera. They continue to use old techniques for engaging voters that don't necessarily take into account some of the research and the science that suggests that, advertising has very little impact on whether or not you vote or who you vote for, but identity, personal connections with other people who are voting, a variety of different research, and I put some of the links to that data in the challenge, really do impact whether or not people vote. So what I think we as designers are really, really good at doing is taking data like research that the Pew Center on civic engagement does and translating that into simple, replicable tools that campaigns, get out the vote campaigns. I'm not talking about political campaigns like whoever the presidential candidates are. I'm talking about, like a local indivisible group or a group like, that's looking to activate Latinx voters or just try to get, whatever, a Christian group that's looking to get out Christian voters, etc., but giving them a set of specific tools that they could use to design a more effective experience for getting people to register, get them to be informed, and then get them to actually, on the day or the days before, go out and vote. I think it's one of the most important things that we do as citizens. And, as a designer, I think it's really critical that we be working on important things. So that's my pitch. Happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Yeah, does anyone have any initial questions while we have David here?
I have a question. Is this challenge designed more for the national general election, or could we spin this to be like local Alabama politics, in my case?
Yeah, I think it should be locally focused because I think that'll help with your research and the relationships that you're building. In my ideal world, the tools that would be built would be able to be extended to different, so if you're doing work in Alabama, maybe the basic principles that are underlining the experience or the tools or whatever it is that you're designing could be applied in California as well as they're applied in Alabama. The names change, the polling places change, whether or not you're automatically registered to vote might change, those kinds of things. But it would be cool if we could design a set of tools that could be used to activate whatever group of voters you're trying to activate, Alabama, California, young, old, whatever.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys?
Oh, I also had a question.
Yeah.
I was wondering, so for the last project, there was that link to like alumni who would be open to being interviewed. I was wondering if there's like any kind of similar pool of people who are open to be interviewed already for this project, like the other one.
Yeah, those alumni, we're in the process because Steelcase was so geared towards the particular future of work that we started like gathering names for alumni to participate in that particular project. We've actually like asked ourselves why don't alumni also make themselves available to the other national projects? So once we do get confirmation with alumni and understand this is the proper way that we want to like uh, distribute their information, they could also be a resource for all the national projects. So that's one thing to do. But I know David also put together a lot of connections in pre-populated websites for you to visit. David, do you want to talk about a little bit more of like some organizations you recommend reaching out to, or through you, like
Yeah.
what would be best, do you think?
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of work myself, reaching out to some of the different organizations that I work with, namely Indivisible and Sister District, and seeing, I wanted to get a sense for how many teams were engaged and what I would be bringing to the table when I talk to those organizations. So as soon as I know how many teams are working on it, I'm going to start talking to some of those orgs, and then I think I'll be able to potentially make some introductions to you. I could also possibly make some introductions to some of the campaigns here in Illinois that I've worked with for phone calls. So that's what I can do. But I think that if you look at this list of connections in the challenge, whether it's Fair Fight or Indivisible or Spread the Vote or League of Women Voters or the Black Lives Matter vote campaign, like no matter where you guys are, there are many, many organizations who are looking to engage voters, and they're starting their work now. And so, if you could, I mean, I think you should sort of be driven a little bit by your own personal interest in the population you might like to get voting more, like, I don't know, college students, or, if you have some other particular group of people that you're connected to, that you want to think about voting, or is really active around your campus or in the city that you're living in. I don't think it would be that difficult to reach out to them. I mean, you will have the challenge of pitching design to them, but frankly, you're going to have that challenge in your career. So getting good at pitching, like, what do you mean by design, and why should I talk to you? And, like that's going to be helpful for you, I think, to reach out to those groups. But everywhere, no, like you probably like throw a stone from where you're sitting now, and you're going to hit somebody in your area who's trying to activate voters.
Awesome. That's and in addition to that pitch comment too, I want to piggyback and say that that's where DFA National can come in, as well as David and the other teams that are working on this project. So DFA National, I mentioned before. I'm going to share my screen one more time real fast. Here, I think. One second. So we created a Slack workspace. Do you see the Slack workspace? Perfect. Cool. So once you sign up through that welcome form, you'll be given the link to access this. And here we grouped by theme each of the channels. So you're able to connect with other teams that are also doing the voting challenge in this space, as well as DFA. I will be available for office hours over the course of the term. Every Tuesday from 1 to 2 Central Time is the current set that I blocked out on my calendar, that I'm always available to answer questions about this topic and for anyone who's participating in a national project. So we can help you and coach if you have any questions. I'll do my best to respond throughout the week, but especially during that time I'll be available. I'll be providing resources and up-to-date resources, anything we find that's topical, and we encourage you guys to participate and share in this space as well.
Yeah, and I'll also figure out how Ross and I are going to talk about how I can be involved in that and, give you, answer questions or advise you guys as if it's helpful.
Perfect. Does anyone have any other follow-up questions? There's one more thing I want to hit before we reach the end of this. We have about 13 minutes left. Does anyone, about any of the National Challenge Library, about the support, about any of these 2 new projects that we're adding? Cool. So the last things, if you would jump back into the notes document here, towards I think it's on the second page of 4. The last thing we want to cover is managing teams. So that was one of the themes that we put in this, and that's how we'll round this out. So as you go about and are forming teams for these national projects, we thought it would be appropriate to discuss the different stages of team formation that occur throughout a project. So these have been defined and proven, or at least these terms are kind of like the evolution of a project. Some terms that are equivalent, it's like sun rising and sun setting on teams, like from the forming of a team to its conclusion. But these are just really fun because they kind of all rhyme. And they discuss the overview. So I want to go over them now, and I want to spend some time of the one that's going to be happening in the next couple weeks as you form your teams, which is forming. So as you're forming a team, that's what happens. You're forming. So especially as DFA start to work together, they make an effort to get to know each other and their teammates. And this is where team leads can come in, and studio leads can also participate in this, where you're establishing team members' roles and responsibilities. So you just got a whole bunch of people together. They're not necessarily a team yet. Once you are forming a team and you're able to share out and learn each other's expectations, communicate any deadlines that you have, understand each other's strengths and what people are trying to learn from participating in this team what brought you together to work on this. You're forming a team and you're starting to know a little bit more about each other, and it's exciting and it's new and it's really fun. The stressful part is this following phase called storming. So that's when the DFAers or just people in general start to push against the boundaries established in the forming stage. It's kind of like any type of relationship. You're like, this is fun, this is exciting, and then it becomes challenging the more you get to know somebody. But now you have this group of people, you're all working towards the same goals, and it's called storming. So it's a little frustrating. There's some abrasion or some friction that's happening when 2 people are butting heads, or someone's not doing the work because something's happening. So just be sure to establish an open line of communication and you'll be able to get through storming. That's kind of the rough patch for many DFA teams that Gloria and I see throughout the DFA network, is when they hit that rough patch, sometimes team members leave, it gets too stressful. But what can you do as a team, as a unit, as the leader of a team to make that process, just acknowledge that it's happening, but also have a plan in place to navigate that storm that you're going through. After a while, the storm calms down, maybe you reach the eye of that hurricane, and then people are like, okay, so we're making compromises. If I sleep in and I can't make a morning meeting, maybe we push it back to 10 o'clock. Sorry, the light went out again. And that's a compromise that we're willing to make, and then we kind of understand how we're starting to operate as a team. And then you're performing. After that, you're like, great, this is amazing. We're rolling, we're moving, we're doing all this work, we're solving the voting, and now we have 100% of my college voting, all of these workers are solving problems and feeling like they have they're valued participants in their organizations. This is amazing. And you're doing the work. It's a really exciting and fulfilling project when you get in sync with your team and you're performing, and you reach your goals. The weird thing, though, is that you reach your goals, and then the term ends, or you hand in your deliverables, and then the team adjourns. So you do all this work, you make those relationships, you know how to like work and get in a groove with certain types of people, to then just kind of have it end. And sometimes that's really difficult for people because you build these relationships, you really want to keep working with someone. Maybe you're joining a new team this term, or maybe you're continuing a team, or there's a new team member that's joining, and things end. So that's the sunsetting of a team lifespan, and it can be a little stressful sometimes. So just acknowledge that and be aware of it as you move forward, as you go through these teams, these projects. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of the possible team dynamics that can occur. Under this in the resources, we have a whole bunch of teaming resources available for you guys. The top one is all about more detail forming, storming, norming, performing, all of that jazz. And then we have more information about Team Canvas, Team Retro, and a team contract. These are all useful tools to help you through those forming, norming, storming stages. And if you have any other questions, comments, concerns, feel free to reach out to Gloria or myself. Reach out to each other on the national Slack. Reach out to David. Maybe he has experiences about doing this. And I'm sure we'll be able to find something, a nice balance where we can go through our team, our DFA National, this, over 10,000 strong team that you're all a part of, and get to that performing stage. Okay, we got a few more minutes, and what I wanted to do is just learn a little bit about your guys' experience in the forming stage. So this is what we're going to get into. So can somebody share out, we're going to do a quick 5-minute share out of what it means to be forming teams. And has anyone had any experience in the forming storming part of the team formation that they'd like to share out?
Hey, Ross.
And how'd you navigate that?
Ross, Can I jump out?
Go for it. Thanks, David. Thank you so much. We really
You
appreciate
guys,
it.
I would love to work with you. It's only the most important election in the history of the country, so keep that in mind. And I look forward to working with you guys in the future. Take care.
Okay, great. Thanks, David. Bye.
Thanks, Ross.
Okay, great. So yeah, we have 5 more minutes. Can we quickly, each individual person, does someone want to share out a time? If we can get 2 share outs, that'd be great. Then we can get feedback and bounce out of this call.
So in the forming stage last year or last semester, something that we experienced a little bit of storming was one of our team leads was he wasn't solving his issues in a design way. He was sort of trying to come up with a solution and then get there rather than getting to the solution, using the design thinking process. So there was a little bit of tension in terms of how we were going to manage handling the project and leading the team throughout the rest of the.
Great. How did you handle that? Did he stay? Did he eventually get back to the design process, or what was some of the outcomes that happened?
So we initially what we were doing was we were going to have times outside of our scheduled meetings where we worked one-on-one with the team leads, so that we can sort of rescope their way of thinking in a way, to make it more design thinking and more DFA. But eventually the problem sort of in a way solved itself in that he ended up being too busy, so he had to step down from the project. So we just continued doing it without him.
Yeah. Cool. And sometimes it does work itself out. I mean, you know what? It's nice when it happens. Kavya, I'm looking at you. So what do you think? Do you have any insights or experiences you want to share out?
Yeah, I was going to add something that's worked particularly well for our studios before the semester really gets into high gear. We hold some kind of a retreat, either on campus or off campus. There is a design activity that's some part of it, but we do start out with just icebreakers or getting to know each other and actually investing time in forging natural connections between upperclassmen and underclassmen so that level of comfort is already there. And even though some of the upperclassmen who have gone through the retreat for a few years now, it's the same sort of a thing, but we found the value in doing this sort of thing every time because it does just make the atmosphere coming into studio so much more welcoming. Everyone's much more comfortable raising opinions, even if they don't know the team members, for example. And we've had positive feedback all throughout. So the form of our retreat has changed from year to year. Obviously, we iterate, but I don't think we will ever like compromise on this aspect of how we start things. So which is pretty cool, I think.
That's awesome. Anyone want to share one more, and then we can round us out, or if everyone's tired, we can just do feedback and go home. Any cool. I mean, yeah, with my personal experience, I was a team lead at the Crucier studio, and something that really helped me was like Austin said, I had one-on-ones to learn about the goals and expectations and what individual aspect of this project that we're getting into, like what their motivation was for joining this project, what they were excited to do, what they hoped they wanted to learn, or like what part of the design process they were interested in. I was able to curate and make sure that the stuff that we were doing fit what they wanted to do, and I gave them the experiences that they wanted to test. If they wanted to like make more stuff in Adobe Creative Suite, like I gave them the opportunity to hand in a deliverable or something like that. So just think about how you can make opportunities to put the people that want to do the things and are really dedicated and will just learn and fail but will produce the work and learn a lot. That's really exciting to be able to participate in that. Sweet. So because this is DFA, we always want to have some sort of feedback loop. So at the bottom of the document, we have an I like, I wish, I wonder. Please give us some feedback about the content of this call, about the National Challenge Library, about anything related to this so that we can improve it for next time and for the next group of calls. And I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time. And I also wanted to mention thank you, Jasmine, for being a new studio lead. I'm very excited to have you be a part of this. DFA Yale, I got to work with a team on the previous National Challenge, national project with P&G. So yeah, it's a lot of work that you guys do. I don't think you guys get thanked enough. Like, it's a lot of emails that we send, and you'll have to read them and everything, and you have to fill out all these forms and attend these late calls. So thank you. I highly encourage all of you to consider participating in a National Challenge Library project this term because we have built out studio support systems to help you. We have David here, super excited, and I'm happy to hear that a lot of you are interested in that topic. And I'm really hoping some of you take up Kim Dabb's challenge gauntlet of connecting with alumni and figuring out how to create the future of work that you want to live in. If you have any other questions, I'll be available, but that kind of concludes the first group call of the decade. Oh my gosh, here's to another decade of group calls in DFA. And good luck with your New Year's resolutions, everybody, and make a lot of impact this year.